This wonderful story in Matthew that you'll be able to look at with more leisure when it's presented on the Holy Trinity list and you can look at the pictures in more detail. This wonderful story in Matthew is told in 6 little stages, and it's just like a movie outline. First, there is the far-off journey of the 3 astrologers from eastern lands. Second, they arrive in Jerusalem and they meet with Herod, the local despot appointed by the Romans in Palestine. Third, the Magi continue their journey to Bethlehem, where they adore the baby Jesus and give gifts. Fourth, the Magi go to sleep and are warned in a dream or by an angel to return home by another way. Fifth, Joseph too has a dream, warning him of the danger of Herod's wrath, and he takes Mary and Jesus immediately to escape into Egypt. And lastly, Herod's rage at the evasion by the Magi spills over into violence as he massacres all children in Bethlehem under 2 years of age. What is so amazing to me is how so many artists from ancient times up to the very present have grasped the essential conflict of empires in that whole story of Matthew. On the one hand, there is the Epiphany or the revelation of the light of the world in a stable, with the Magi as representatives, along with the shepherds, of peoples and nations of the world coming to that manger in peace and goodwill. The opening of heaven to a renewed earth. And in that conflict with the power and the violence of Rome and Herod, its appointed local dictator. And the artists have captured it. The 3 Magi on their horses or their camels, or on their knees, bringing gifts of symbolic meaning. And on the other side, Herod on a throne, dressed like a Roman, and with haircut like a Roman, and holding his sword like a scepter, ruling with power and violence, and cutting off the life of any child who poses a threat to the security of his throne and the bloodlust of his weapon. 2 empires. One is called the realm of heaven, a realm of love and peace and plenty and justice and equity for all. And one called the Empire of Rome, whose Augustus had claimed a world peace, the Pax Romana, but it was a peace dependent upon sword and throne, ruling with force and terror, enmity and hunger and subservience. Those are always the instruments of power, whether in the ancient Roman Empire or today in the empires that surround us. International business, big box stores, civic and international political infighting, oil and other deals, one of Trump's favorite words for imperial negotiation, police and schoolyard brutality, profits for long-term care houses, while death goes on, and so it marches by. And into these worlds, too, the wise Magi come with their gifts of gold and frankincense and myrrh. And some people say that there were women astrologers in the Bethlehem company too. And the three women brought sensible gifts, diapers, much needed. When Herod tried to enlist the Magi as his agents in a power grab, they resisted. They became non collaborators. They refused to become Herod's enforcers of his raid upon the Holy Family. Instead, they went home another way. All of this is captured in those 6 episodes of the gospel story. But that gospel passage, or the gospel passage appointed to be read today, leaves out the angel's warning to Joseph, the flight into Egypt, and the massacre of the innocent children, all of which I included today. Why? Because that is the reality check. In the lectionary selection, the passage is purified, sanitized, made comfortable. So that disruption of the manger scene into refugee status, so common in so many from Syria and Palestine and Ethiopia and Lebanon and Colombia and Venezuela and Mexico and how many other places. And those killings of children and separations of families by border services, oh, as surely as our Herod-like violence and neglect, as anything that Rome could have inflicted. As Zachary said so well in his New Year's letter to the parish, this year has illuminated a crisis that we at Holy Trinity, surrounded by our refugee tents, I add, know all too well. Rapidly shrinking public spaces across our city, the annexation of these spaces by private interests for use by an upper class, the use of police and private security to defend the privatization of public spaces, and the condofication of the rental market that has pushed more and more people out of housing. These decisions have made the most vulnerable even poorer, sicker, and more traumatized. You are so right, Zach. That is the message of today's full reading from Matthew's Gospel. It's a gospel of peace and abundance, of shelter and justice, of love and compassion and hospitality. But it is also confronted by power and privilege, and laced with threats of violence and real terror and death. Please, the knee in my neck, I can't breathe. But there is another legend associated with Epiphany in some cultures, especially in Italy, where we came across it when we lived there. An old and ugly woman, dressed like a witch with a broom, is called La Befana. She was so proud of the cleanness of her house. She spent all of her time sweeping it out, even when friends came to call. Even when 3 strangers came from the east, she was so busy sweeping that she had no time for them. They wanted to rest with her and asked her for information. But no, she wouldn't even let them in through her door. So they invited her to come along with them in their search for the Christ child. But she refused. Only too late does she realize that she missed her chance to escape from her endless housekeeping. So she prepared a sack of candies and headed out, starting to look for them, stopping at every house, hoping that one of them would shelter the baby Jesus. Thus it is that on the eve of Epiphany every year, she goes round the world leaving small presents for children, still searching for the child of hope, still sweeping out the houses, clearing away the problems of the past year. So here is the invitation to us, in the light of the Epiphany star, to choose which empire to belong to follow the invitations to find our true home by going back to our own country by another way, to chart a new path in the coming days, to sweep out the dust of the past year, to find time to welcome the stranger in whatever form, and so to find hope and love and life, and truth to say, even to find blessedness. And may it be so. Amen.